Hello and welcome back to our YouTube channel. Well, it is the 16th lecture of Indian Polity today, and as the date is 25th June 2025. Well, before we'll start our discussion, I would like to take a brief time of yours here so that I can give you the basic introduction of this initiative, so that if you are new to our channel, you will get more connected with us. Basically from the 2nd June, we started an initiative here, namely Target IAS 2026. Under this initiative, every day we upload two videos on our platform, one in the morning session where we discuss the current affairs of the day, we discuss the news analysis so that we can take care of your current affairs of the year. And in the evening session, we upload another video where we discuss the static syllabus. And in the evening session, we had started it with the Indian polity. We had promised you by the month of January 2026 we are going to complete your syllabus, and under this initiative we will cover every subject what is required for you to clear this exam, whether related to prelims or mains. But there is an exception which is with respect to the optional subjects. And one more thing I would like to mention here, that as we are preparing, as we are delivering these lectures, at the same time we are preparing notes for you. Those notes are really different from the conventional books because we contain, we had discussed every topic which is relevant for your preparation, whether with respect to prelims or mains. And after every discussion, after every topic which we discuss there, we give you the possible prelims as well as mains question, so that it will give you this idea how exactly questions could be asked in the exam, how exactly they are important for you. But to avail this service of our notes, you will have to do one thing. You will have to pay 200 rupees per subject, 200 rupees per subject to get the access of those notes. And it is up to you. If you want, then we can give you this, but these notes should be available once we will complete the syllabus of each subject. For example, right now we are discussing Indian polity. Once we will complete the syllabus of Indian polity, the notes would be available. So it is totally up to you. If you want to get the access to those notes, we are more than ready to deliver that. So with this, this is the brief introduction about this initiative. If you like it, please do subscribe the channel. This is for you. Do write in the comments what else should we bring for you guys, so that we can help you in every way possible. Now, without any delay, let's start our discussion where we left yesterday. We started union and executive, and we saw that in union and executive there are many offices in it. What it is: president, it is vice president, it is prime minister and council of ministers, it is attorney general. So these are the offices which are part of the union and executive. So with respect to this, we started with the president, the office of the president. We discussed what president is. We compared it with the president of UK. We saw that we have the parliamentary system of democracy. We saw that how our president is elected, but he is not elected directly by the people, but he is elected by the electoral college. We discussed about the electoral college of our for the election of the president. We saw that how this election is conducted. We saw that how there is the sacred ballot used in this. We saw that how it is single transferable vote in this, how this process is done, and we discussed that in a very much detail in our last lecture. And finally, we saw that in front of whom he will give his oath, it is Chief Justice of India or senior most judge if he is not present. And also we saw, then we discussed his qualification to what is the qualification of a person to be the president of India. After that, we reached to the point where we discussed his impeachment. How this office can remain vacant and how it should always be there. Article 52, there shall be the president of India. So it is very much must that president should be there. We discussed the impeachment in a very detail. What is the process of impeachment, where it can be initiated? It can be initiated in both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. 1/4 of the members present should support it. Then it should be passed by 2/3 majority of the total house. The special majority flavor 4, which we discussed in our second class, if you remember. We discussed that then in another house, how there would be time given to the president to represent himself, Can Attorney General represent him? No, because Attorney General is working for the government, and this impeachment would go against the president, which is actually brought forward by the government. So definitely there is a there is a contrast between the two. So Attorney General cannot represent the president, so he can get represented by some other lawyer. We discussed it till now, and we saw that what impeachment is. And I also mentioned a term here, that impeachment is only used for the removal of president, for the removal of president in the constitution. This impeachment term will never be used for any other office. You might right now, you might be watching the videos, news with respect to the removal of judges, high court judge who was who was involved in a corruption, from whom a lot of money was, there were when his whom got the fire, the lot of money was available present there. So, and often in the newspapers there is this term impeachment mentioned for him. But we should know that if a question in the prelims exam would be asked about the term impeachment, it is only used for whom? Impeachment is only used for president. So what is the difference? Now the question should be, sir, what is the difference between the impeachment and the removal? What is the basic difference? I told you yesterday, for a layman, if you have to tell him what is the difference, you should look at the procedure. Look at the procedure of this impeachment. You will find the procedure followed to remove the president. You will know that it is impeachment. Now let's describe on it. Now let's discuss on it how we can differentiate the two. Usually, when we talk about the political affairs, or when we talk about the executive functions, or we talk about the legislative functions, or we talk about the functioning of the government, we use removal mostly when removal is mostly associated with whom? It is mostly associated with the executive order. For example, there is you have to remove the high court judge. The procedure would be almost same, that first one house will hear the case, then second they will pass it, then second house will hear the case, there it would be investigation, time would be given to him, then they will pass it. Then finally it is the president who removes the judge. So it is not called the impeachment, it is called removal, because it is the executive who is removing the judge. But with respect to president, what is happening? The case would be in the first house, then it would be investigated in the second house. Then once it is passed by the second house too, then finally what happens? He is impeached. No further removal is there. Once the bill passes, once this impeachment process passes in both the houses, the person is removed, the person is impeached. So this is the basic difference. This is the technical difference between the two terms. Now we discussed the impeachment. Now let's have a look at what are the powers of the president. We saw that all the executive powers lie with the president, Article 53 of the Indian Constitution. And we discussed that Article 53 and 52, they should not be read alone, they should be read with Article 74 of the Indian Constitution. So let's look at the various powers. It is not only the executive powers which are enjoyed by the president. There are some financial powers also. There is some judicial powers with respect to him. There are mercy powers with respect to him. There are military powers with respect to him. There are various powers he enjoys. For example, if we talk about the executive powers, suppose we are talking about the executive powers of the president. So what are these powers? The constitution in itself does not define the executive powers. Tomorrow a question may come, may be asked that, does constitution define this executive power of the president? No, it does not define the executive powers of the president. It does not give us the definition. Then what should we rely upon? We discussed that we should rely upon what? We should rely upon the judiciary. What are the what are the claims of the judiciary? What are the various judgments in which they had defined it? And also we also discussed that whatever is left after the legislative and judicial powers, that the remaining is the executive powers. Suppose what are the various executive powers? Who will initiate the bill? By whose decision the bill will be introduced in the Lok Sabha. This is the executive power. It is with the it is with the president. Who will lay down the policies? For example, who will lay down the policy rules of business? Who will lay down it? It is the president who will lay down the policies. We will discuss when we will discuss the Council of Ministers. We will discuss their rules of the business too. Who will appoint? Who will appoint Chief Justice of India? Who will appoint CAG? Chair. Who will appoint the CAG? Who will appoint the Chief Election Commissioner? So this would be done by him. So these are some executive powers. But here, one thing what I have learned from my experience, when you have to discuss these things, when you want to learn these things, this is not the best way to, when we are discussing the president here, we will discuss the executive powers and we will try to ratify that. Then we will discuss the legislative powers, we will ratify that. We will discuss the judicial powers, we will ratify that. Financial powers. This does not work, because you need to have the clarity of the concepts. So what we will do here, these powers, all the judicial powers, executive powers, or the legislative powers, we will discuss them. We will discuss the various offices. For example, we will have to discuss the CAG, we will have to discuss the judiciary. There we will discuss the other executive powers. With respect to the legislative powers, we will discuss when we will start with the parliament. And similarly, with respect to the financial powers of the judiciary, when we will discuss various bills and also all that. So here, let's discuss only few powers of the president, then we will shift our topic. So far, I guess everything is very much clear. Yet, we may, this power of the president, it would continue till we will end our course, because we have to discuss the parliament. There, the power of the president will come in. We'll have to discuss the emergency. Their power of the president will come in. So it will remain here. It would be the continuous discussion. So, but here we will discuss few other powers of the president, which are very much necessary to answer, which are very much necessary for us to understand for this time being. So what are these powers? For example, this for example, the president, he has the military powers. What is this military powers he enjoys? And the military powers he enjoys, he is the supreme commander of the military, all the departments of the military. He is the supreme commander. No one is above him with respect to military. And second, he is the supreme commander of Air Force. He may be supreme commander. He is the supreme commander of Navy. He is the supreme commander of Army. And what else comes under the military powers? For example, recently we went for the war. It was not even a war. Suppose we are going for a war with Pakistan. We are going for a war with Pakistan. Who will decide it? It is the president who will decide it. Will he decide it on his own satisfaction? No, it is not his own satisfaction. It is the satisfaction of the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. But here, the military power, it is signed on his name that today we are going for war with Pakistan. It would be signed by Draupadi Murmu. Third, you want to, third, you have to declare now, you want to declare the peace, with the countries, you want to go for the ceasefire. It would be decided by him. It would be done by him. So these are the military powers, and it is done by the aid and advice of the Prime Minister. So this much is with respect to military powers you need to know here. Now, what are the other powers? For example, another important thing which we need to mention here with respect to powers is the veto powers. What are the various veto powers the president does have? If we will ask the Constitution of India, and if Constitution of India can talk with us, we will tell him that what are the various veto powers do you mention? The Constitution will say us that there is no veto power mentioned. This veto power is not even mentioned in the Constitution. But we can track it from various articles. For example, we have Article 101 of the Indian Constitution. We have Article 101 of the Indian Constitution. What does it say? It says that, for example, any bill is being introduced so that it reaches to the president. Now, what are the options left with the president? for any bill, what are the options left with the president? So that both the houses will pass this bill. Now it is with the president. What are the options left with the president? On his signature, on his aim, on his signature, this bill will be deemed that this bill has been passed. Now this bill has reached to the president. So what are the ways, what are the options available to him? There is usually, broadly, if we will discuss, there are four options in the hands of the president. Three is very much known, and fourth is very much derived. It is very much derived. Now let's discuss what are these four veto options. What are these options available to the president? Let us discuss them one by one. First, he may say yes. Is saying yes a power? 100% it is a power. It itself is a power, saying yes to the bill, because on your name this bill will pass. So the first power is he can say yes. Second thing, what he can do, he may withhold her, she may withhold her assent. Withhold her assent. What she will do? She will withhold it. She will not sign it. She will keep it with herself. And the third option available to the president here is, what is the third option? The president may send this bill back to the parliament for reconsideration as soon as possible. The president, third option is president may send this bill back for reconsideration as soon as possible. But there is exception with respect to the money bill. For money bill, he has to say yes or no. There is no reconsideration. Shall give assent or pass, as soon as possible, except money bill, and shall give assent or once passed again. If he sends it back for the reconsideration as soon as possible, and if the parliament will again pass the same bill, then he has to give the assent. Now here comes the question. You can ask me, sir, you told there are four powers which are enjoyed by, four types of vetoes which are enjoyed by the president, but you had mentioned only three. One, he can say yes. Second, he can withhold his. Third, he can send it for the reconsideration. But here is the catch. What is the catch? This term, as soon as possible, there is a story behind it. Let me rub it first. So till now, I guess this much is very much clear. Yes, he can say yes to the bill, very common. Withhold his her assent. He can withhold his her assent, and it has been done. He can pass. He can send this bill back for the reconsideration. It has also been done with respect to various bills. For example, we have Office of Profit bill, which was during the Office of Profit bill. We had the Office of Profit bill. It was passed, and then it was APG Abul Kalam Azad who was the president. What he did, he did the unthinkable. He sent it back for the reconsideration. And what is the purpose of this sending it back for the reconsideration? The purpose is that the people, the citizens of the country, they will know why there are flaws with respect to this bill the government is trying to bring in. This council of ministers, this council of ministers who had brought this bill, they are responsible to the Lok Sabha. And who elects the Lok Sabha? It is people who elect the Lok Sabha. So in a way, he is informing the people that, look, they are forming the bill, they are bringing in the bill which has something violative against you, so that make them responsible to yourself. So same was done with respect to the Office of Profit bill. And then this bill was passed again, and then the president, he signed the bill. So this is with respect to these three. Now what is the fourth type? Which I mentioned? Here I told you with respect to the sending it back for the reconsideration as soon as possible. as soon as possible. This as soon as possible, it can be, it can act as a pocket veto. You know what in this the president will do? President will just sit on the bill. He will not send it for the reconsideration. Neither he will send, neither he will say yes. What he will do, he will just sit on the bill. And the prime example of this is the telegraph bill. The prime example of such bill is the telegraph bill. Telegraph bill, which was passed in the Rajiv Gandhi's government. And the president, the Gyani Zail Singh was the president. Gyani Zail Singh, he was the president then. Somebody told him that if you will say yes, then it will be in line with what the government wants. If you will withhold it, or you will send it back for the reconsideration. Withholding is equal to sending back for the reconsideration. If you are withholding it, then you have to send it back for the reconsideration. Then the question comes here that, if you are withholding this bill, you have to send it for the reconsideration. Then how you can impact this legislative power? How you can enjoy this power? How you can impact the legislative work of the parliament? So somebody advised him, look at the article 111. What does it say? It says that as soon as possible you have to send it back. This as soon as possible can be 1 hour, it can be 1 day, it can be 1 year. There is no definition to it. So what he did, he sat on the bill. He sat on the bill, and the bill never got passed. Then there was a change of the government. There was new president. He sent this bill back to the cabinet, and cabinet said that we don't want to introduce this bill. Then this bill died. So these are the powers with the president. Let's recap the powers here. I'm trying to make it very much simple for you, so that it would be very much the idea would be very much clear to you guys, so that you should be able to answer any question with respect to president if would be asked in the exam. So let's recap what are the vetoes available to the president. First veto, he can say yes. Second, he can withhold. Third, he can send for the reconsideration as soon as possible, and this can be used as a pocket veto. Now with respect to the withhold, there is also a discussion. Withholding the bill, is it a discretionary power of the president, or he has to go with the aid and advice of the government? So there is a discussion over it. Is this a discretionary power? You are withholding the bill. Suppose you are withholding any bill. A bill was passed and you are withholding it. Is it discretionary? What does the constitution say? What does the constitution deal with here? There are two opinions with respect to it. Here, first opinion is that yes, it is discretionary, because article 111 talks about it. Second opinion is, look at article 74. What does article 74 say? Article 74 says the advice is binding on the aid and advice is binding on the president, and he has to work in the aid and advice of the president. So there are two opinions with respect to it. And there is also another class of the experts who say that with respect to the executive bills, with respect to the executive decisions, whether who should be the president, who should be the minister, who should be the home minister, with respect to the executive functions, it is not the discretion. It is not his discretion. He has to go with aid and advice of the prime minister and council of ministers. But with respect to the legislative powers, it is the discretion. So there is a confusion. With respect to executive powers, there is no discretion, but with respect to legislative powers, there is a discretion. But at the end, if you are withholding the bill, you have to send it back for the reconsideration. And what would be the time span within which you have to send it back for the reconsideration? That is something which is not clear in the constitution. So with this, I hope you had understood the veto powers of the president. You had understood the pocket veto. You had understood the suspensive veto, which he uses when he sends it back for the reconsideration. There he uses the suspensive veto. He consumes some time, and he at the same time he informs the people what are the problems with it, and he may use the pocket veto and also the absolute veto with respect to the legislative bills. So with this, and also with the absolute veto, where he uses this absolute veto when he has to appoint the prime minister, at that time he there is a scope of the absolute veto, because if it is up to him to appoint the prime minister, he can appoint anybody, so definitely the scope is there. But there also it is situational. It would depend on the situation. If there is the party who is the majority, single party who is the majority, definitely he will go with the person who is the head of the party, who is the head of the government there. And also, when there is the hung assembly, when there is no clear majority, then he can choose on his own. So definitely absolute veto is for the president with respect to certain functions. There is pocket veto also, there is suspensive veto also. Now with this, the office of the president is clear. You may ask me certain questions, sir. We did not discuss the various functions of the president. We did not discuss the mercy powers of the president. We will discuss that then when we will discuss the governor, because I told you the office of the president, the functions of the president, the powers of the president, it would remain in continuity till we complete this syllabus, because when we will go to the parliament, we will discuss about the bills there, we will discuss the powers of the president, so it will remain in continuity, and it is better for you to understand the concept rather than ratifying it. If you will try to ratify all these things, you may forget eventually. But if you had understood the concept, it will always remain with you, and you can answer any question with respect to it. So with this, the office of the president is very much over. So I guess there is nothing left in the president now. Let's try to recap what we discussed so far in the office of the president. What are the points which we highlighted, which could be relevant for your preparation? Let's try to summarize all that. If the time permits us, let's try to summarize in simpler terms how we started it and what we reached till now. In the president, we discussed first what is the difference of the president, what is the president, how he is the head of the state, how he is the nominal head. We understood that because Article 74 of the Indian Constitution, it gives this status of nominal head. Was it established nominal head? When in the constitution the office of the president was discussed, it was very much discussed that he would be the nominal head, and the prime minister will be the absolute head or the real head of the government. But there were some loopholes in the Article 74, that the president shall work on the shall do what is advised to him by the prime minister and the council of ministers. So there was a first confusion arose with respect to Somnath Mandir. There was a discussion between the president and the prime minister. Then the question came there that it is not mandatory for him to act on this advice. Then came the Shrimati Indira Gandhi. She introduced, brought the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, in which she added that it is mandatory for the president to act on the aid and advice of the prime minister and the council of ministers. Then this was achieved. After that, 44th Constitutional Amendment Act came in, which added that he can send it for the reconsideration. Then we discussed the office of the president in detail. We discussed what is the qualification of a person to be the office of the president. He should be 35 years of age. He should be he should be in a position that he should be appointed as a MP in the Lok Sabha. So this is one of the power. He should be the citizen of India, and he should not hold the office of the prophet. Then we discussed qualification. Then we discussed the election of the president, how it is done. We discussed his oath. We discussed his impeachment. We discussed the powers. Now we will shift our topic to the another important concept, which is the vice president of India. So we will start with the vice president of India. Vice president of India. So let's discuss it. This vice president of India, which article in the constitution discusses about him that there shall be the vice president. Please remember that. Sometimes you need to remember these articles too. And I told you one thing about the part 5. From part 5 there is very much ambiguity with respect to the articles. The manner they are in, that confuses money. So please don't worry about that. At least those articles which I mentioned here, please remember those articles. And also when the notes would be available, it would be very much clear to you guys. That's why I say that if you will follow my lectures, do follow my notes too, because I had contained everything with respect to your preparation there. The questions are there, the explanation is so beautifully written. You will be surprised if you will compare this with your other books. I'm not saying that it would be enough for you, nobody can say that, but what has been the scope of the exam since last 10 to 12 years? If it would be, then it should be the enough for you. Now let's discuss article vice president. It is article 63 of the Indian Constitution, which talks about there shall be the vice president of India. So this is also an important office. This is also an important office, but it is not as important as the office of the president. There shall be the office of the vice president of India. What his function would be? Will he just sit on the chair and he will wait whenever the president will unfortunately die, or he would be somewhere else, so that he can take his function? No, he has a function too. He has a work to do too. What is that work? That is defined by Article 64. The Article 64 says the vice president will be the ex officio chairperson of the Council of States. He will be ex officio chairperson of the Council of States. So what does this mean? For example, if you are a chairperson of the Raj Sabha, does that mean that you had been elected? You were elected as the member of Raj Sabha. Does it mean that? So that's why you are the chairperson of Raj Sabha? No, it does not mean that. This ex officio chairperson, if you are the vice president, that directly means that you will also be the chairperson of Raj Sabha. So please remember that this ex officio chairperson of Raj Sabha, that if you are holding the office of the president, you will be the ex officio, you will be the chairperson of the Raj Sabha. So here we established that about vice president. It is Article 63 which says that there shall be the vice president of India. Article 64 says he will be the ex officio chairperson of the Raj Sabha. He presides over Raj Sabha. And what is his another function? His first function is that he will preside over Raj Sabha. What is his another function? If God forbid, or if unfortunately there is a vacancy in the presidential office, if there is vacancy in the presidential office, then he will act as the president of India. If there is vacancy in the presidential office, he will act as the president of India. So this is very much clear. He will act for how long he will act? Here we need to understand the difference between the vice president of India and the vice president of USA. Here let's try to understand that. Then we will conclude this, how he will act as the vice president of India, how he will act as the president of India. Let us compare the two, the vice president of USA and vice president of India. Here VP of India and VP of USA. Both, he is the chairman of Raj Sabha, he is the chairman of Senate. Same power. Now this is the only similarity between the two. Now let's discuss about the president. Here the president is 5 years term, here the president is 4 years term. Suppose after 1 year only, new president got elected. After 1 year only he died. or she died, whoever it would be died, what will happen? In India, once there is vacancy, the VP will hold the office of the president, and within 6 months, new president will be elected. But in USA, the condition is different. For example, if today Trump dies, his JD Vance, who is the vice president, he will hold the office, and for how long? For next 3 years, 3.5 years, he will hold the office. So this is the primary difference between the vice president of USA and vice president of India. So here, what we were discussing, his function. We were discussing the function of the vice president. He will act as the chairperson. He is the ex officio chairperson of the Rajya Sabha. He will act as the president, as the president if the office of the president is vacant, but for 6 months only. After that, there should be the elections of the president. Or if elections are not possible, there is the act. Suppose there is an act of God. What is this act of God? Suppose COVID-19 is there, or a tsunami is there, or something else is there, then it should be who then what happens that he will remain president till the new president is elected. But usually in normal conditions, within 6 months, the new president shall be elected. So this is his function. Now let's look at his how he is elected. And let's look at his election, how vice president is elected. He is not like as I told you earlier, that even though he acts as he is the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha, that does not mean he is the member of the Rajya Sabha. But for the qualification, he should be eligible to be the member of the Rajya Sabha. That is his qualification. Here, let's try to understand the election. The election is same as that of president. It is single proportional representation, single transferable vote, secret ballot, and he is elected by the electoral college. But the difference is here, and the difference is in electoral college. For the presidential elections, who was what contributed the electoral college? It contributed elected members of the parliament, whether Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and elected members of the state legislative assemblies. But for the vice presidential election, what is the criteria of electoral college? It contains all the members of the parliament only. That is Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. So here a question was asked, I guess, that does nominated members of the Rajya Sabha participate in the election of the vice president? 100% they participate in the election of the vice president. But in the election of the president, do they participate? No, they don't participate. So this is the election. This is the election of the vice president. It is contained in Article 66 of the Indian Constitution, that it is by the proportional representation, secret ballot, single transferable vote. Both houses of the parliament will participate in this election. Both houses of the parliament will participate in this election. Now, what is the qualification of the president, of the vice president? Let's try to understand that. What is the qualification of the vice president? Qualification of vice president. It is not the educational qualification. It is the constitutional qualification. Who can be the vice president? First, he should be the citizen of India. Citizen. Citizen. Is there any difference between? Is there any difference in it, whether he should be the citizen by birth or nationalization or registration? No, there is no such difference. Second, he should at least be 35 years of age, same as the president. Third, qualified to be member of Rajya Sabha. Qualified to be member of Rajya Sabha. For presidential election, he should be qualified to be member of Lok Sabha, and also should not hold any office of profit. He should not hold the office of the profit. So this is the qualification, and other terms of the office, or Other terms, he will stay there for the 5 years. He will stay for the 5 years. If there is vacancy, there can be the vacancy in the, in the office. In the vacant, there can be the vacancy in the office of the vice president. And what are the terms for the, for example, there he can resign, he can die. And who will he send his resignation to? He will send his resignation to president. And is it binding on the president to accept the resignation? 100%, yes, it is binding on the president. He may die, so there can be the vacancy with respect to that. Or he may be removed. He may be removed. He may be removed. So what are the criteria? What are the terms of the removal? What are the criteria for the removal of VP? What for example, with respect to the president, we have the criteria that violation of constitution. For VP, it is not defined. It can be the violation of the constitution does not define the terms of disqualification or terms of removal. It does not define it. It can be corruption. It may be, he is not able to, he is not that giving time to the opposition party to not listen to him. So it can be anything. It is not defined in the constitution. So this is about the removal. Removal is given there, but the process of removal is not, process of removal is given there, but the reasons for removal is not given in the constitution. And let's discuss about his oath. Here, more than to know, here I would like to mention one thing to you guys. It is more important for you to understand the concepts with respect to these topics. Whenever you will see the questions, a straight article based question would not come. Conceptual questions would come in the exam. So that's why it is important for you to focus on the concepts rather than focus on which article is related to it or not here with respect to these topics. But with the articles which are important, that I will mention definitely. So here let's try to understand what is the oath of the president. What is the oath of the vice president? Let's try to understand that. Oath of the VP. In front of whom he will conduct his, oath or affirmation. It will be conducted by president. President will conduct his oath or affirmation. And what would be his oath or affirmation? It would be faithfully discharge the duties of office mentioned in the constitution. Faithfully discharge duties of the office. It is his oath or affirmation. For the president, it was to withhold the constitution, protect the constitution. For the president, the oath is different. For VP, the oath is different. And here one more thing I would like to mention, that for president and vice president, it is directly mentioned. The oath is directly mentioned in constitution. For for example, there would be the prime minister. His oath is mentioned in the third schedule. But for them, it is directly mentioned in the constitution. So this is oath of the president. Vice president who will take his oath. It is the president who will take his oath, and his oath would be faithfully discharge the duties of the office mentioned in the constitution. And this oath is contained in article 69 of Indian constitution. Now let's come back to the removal of him. What is the removal process of the vice president? Let's try to discuss that. Removal of vice president. There is the process of the removal. It is mentioned in article 67b. There is the grounds of the removal is not mentioned there. What can be the grounds of removal? It can be anything. It can be the violation of the government. It can be the the moral compass of the person, that he is the corrupt. It can be anything. So it is not mentioned. With respect to president, it was very much mentioned that the president can be removed, can be impeached on the basis of the violation of the constitution. For the vice president, it is not mentioned in the constitution. So please remember that a question about it can be asked in the exam, in the prelims exam, the constitution clearly says that these are the reasons for which he can be removed from the office. In it, violation of constitution may be there, all the terms would be correct, but the question in itself is incorrect because this is not given in the constitution. So what is the process of removal process mentioned here? What is the process? First, the bill shall initiate in Rajya Sabha, because he is the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha. It has to be initiated in the Rajya Sabha, and in Rajya Sabha it should be passed by the effective majority. Then the bill, Lok Sabha will pass the resolution by simple majority. Then the bill will go to the Lok Sabha and they will pass the resolution by simple majority. So in this way he will be removed. VP is removed, and also 14 days notice will be given to him too. 14 days notice will be given to him. For example, when the bill is initiated in the Rajya Sabha, the 14-day notice, they will go to the they will not go to the chairperson because he is the chairperson. They will go to the deputy chairperson, that they want to remove the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha, they want to remove the VP, vice president. So they will give him deputy chairperson, he will give him the 14 days notice, then this thing will be initiated. So this is how this is removed. These are the 5, the oath we discussed with respect to the vice president. Now let's discuss one important fact which may be relevant for your preparation with respect to prelims, and which is relevant with respect to both president and vice president. This important fact is very much relevant for your exam. Who conducts the election of the vice president? Who conducts the election of vice president and president? It is the Election Commission of India. And who is the Election Commission of India will conduct the election of the president and vice president? And who is the returning officer? Who is the returning officer in the election of the VP and president? Who is the returning officer? Who is the returning officer? That we need to know. Who is the returning officer? The returning officer who gives you the certificate that particular person has won the election. Who will give the certificate that you had won the election of the president, you had won the election of the vice president? Who will give it? Who is the person who is who is responsible for that? It is the Secretary General of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. It is the Secretary General of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, and they do it on the rotation basis. For example, if this year there was a presidential election, then Secretary General of Lok Sabha will hold it. He will be the returning officer. In next presidential election, the Secretary General of Rajya Sabha will be there. Suppose now there is a condition that in the same year presidential election is there and vice presidential election is there. Then the first one will hold the first election will be held by Secretary General of Lok Sabha, and the second election of the VP it will be held by the returning officer will be the another one, the Secretary General of the Rajya Sabha. And what is their function? Their function is their another function. The function of the returning officer is to have the casting vote. To have the casting vote. What is this casting vote? For example, there is a tie between the two. Then what he will do? He will draw a chit from a lucky draw, and if there is, and in this chit there would be various names given of the candidates, and of the two candidates names would be given. If the chit he draws, and in it the name is, there is a name of a particular candidate, then that particular candidate will win the election if there is a tie. So this is the function with respect to the returning officer. This important fact can be relevant for your preparation. Please make note of this. Who is the returning officer with respect to the election of the president and vice president, and how they work on the rotation basis, and what is their function to draw the to go for the casting vote, and they do it by drawing from the lucky lot. So this is how it is done. Now the another thing which is important, which is also related to the president and vice president here, Then we will conclude this topic also and move towards the Council of Ministers. What is that important thing? These are important points which are very much relevant with your prelims preparation. So please note them down if you are hearing me. Suppose we have a president right now. We have the president. If God forbid she dies, God forbid she dies. Who will hold the office of the president according to the constitution? It is second, the vice president. Now, let us suppose the vice president is not there. Let's suppose like in the Zakir Hussain case, when Zakir Hussain was the president, he died. We have the representative Zakir Hussain was the president. He died. Then ideally it should have been the VV Guri who was the vice president that time. He should have been the president, but he resigned. Why he resigned? He resigned because he wanted to be the president so that he can reach out to the legislative assemblies of the country so that they will vote in his favor. So he resigned. Then there was a question: who will be the president now? And this question was not answered by the constitution, because constitution in itself was very much silent here. There were only two conditions: if president is not there, then the vice president will act as the president. Now the condition was not discussed in this way, that if vice president is also not there, then who will act as the president? There was a confusion with respect that then the Presidential Discharge of Functions Act 1969 came in. The Parliament passed the law in 1969. Parliament passed law in 1969, and the name of the law is President Discharge of Function Act. President Discharge of Function Act. And under this act, it was mentioned that if vice president is not there, then CJI will act as president. If CJI is not there, then the senior most judge will act as the president. So this is the condition. Now, how UPSC can try to deceive the, how UPSC can examiner can try to deceive you? He will form a question that if in case the president dies, then the vice president will, according to Indian constitution, then vice president will act as the president. If vice president's office is vacant, then the Chief Justice of India's office will he will act as the president. So is it true? A question with respect to that, maybe a statement with respect to that would be asked. So according to the constitution, it would be totally incorrect, because constitution does not describe this hierarchy that after president it would be vice president. Till this it is defined in the constitution, but after that the constitution was silent. It is the parliamentary law which says that after the vice president it is the Chief Justice of India. So please note down these important facts. These are the facts, these are the points which we miss as the aspirants. We have the knowledge, in the exam, everybody studies the same. What is the difference between those people who qualify and you? Only difference is that they look at these important facts, they understand these facts, and they keep revising these facts, that when the question is there, they easily mark the question correctly. So this is the difference. This is what differentiates you from other students. This will differentiate you if you will take care of these facts. So here now, who was the Chief Justice of India then? It was the Justice Hidayatullah, who was the Chief Justice of India. Justice Hidayatullah. Now there was a question: this Justice Hidayatullah, who had a permanent job, who was the Chief Justice of India, he has to act as a president and only for the 6 months. Now there was the concern that what will happen to his office after the 6 months? After the six months, he will be back as the Chief Justice of India. Here was another question: where will go to what will happen to the separation of powers, as Chief Justice will act as the president? So when he will act as the president, he will no longer remain the Chief Justice, and when he will act as the Chief Justice, he will no longer remain the president. So separation of power between the judiciary and the executive is very much respected here. So this much. With this, we had completed the vice president also. What are the important functions of it, what are the important concepts related to it. I hope if any question with respect to vice president would be asked in the exam, you should be more than ready to answer that. We discussed the difference between the Vice President of India and Vice President of USA too here. Now let's move to the another topic, which is the Council of Ministers. As we are discussing the executive here, we are discussing the union executive. In it we have the PM and the Council of Ministers too. Let's try to discuss that now. What is this? What is this Council of Ministers? Let's try to find out that. There are various concepts related to the Council of Ministers which we will try to understand, one by one. I hope this is not that much boring for you, but trust me, these facts are so much important for you. If you will follow these lectures and follow my notes, I can guarantee you at least you will qualify the prelims. And if you had the good practice of the writing the answers, then you can qualify the mains too. But you just have to be patient with me, and you would have to stay with me and follow what I say to you guys. Now the another topic is Council of Ministers. Let's first understand it. Let's first understand what this is. The executive part. What contains the executive part? Here in the executive part, it would be Prime Minister plus Council of Ministers plus President. It is the executive part of the Parliament. Let's try to understand what this Council of Ministers is. After every election, when there are elections to happen, people will come to your doorsteps and they will ask for, please vote for me. We will we will give you TV sets, we will correct the roads here, we will we'll make separate funds for you, we will give your woman every monthly income would be there if there is any pregnant or whatever their manifesto would be, and they highlight to you guys. And what you do, you vote for them, and these members, they enter into the Parliament in the Lok Sabha. What they do, they enter in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. There are members from the Rajya Sabha. Let's say that these members are there. 543 members. 543 members. Now the first thing when this election is there, the members of the Lok Sabha are there. Now they have to form the government. What they will have to form? They will have to form the government. To form the government, the first thing what president has to do, it is the power of the president to appoint the prime minister. These people who came to you, they would have alignment towards some political party. Suppose BJP was the winner. They had the majority in the parliament. Suppose they have the majority in the parliament. Now what will the Draupadi Murmu ma'am do? She will appoint the leader of the BJP. Suppose he is Narendra Modi, Shri Narendra Modi. She appointed him as the prime minister. Can she appoint anybody prime minister? Yes, she can appoint. It is her power. But can she appoint me? She will appoint me. But after 6 months, I would be nowhere. There may be the motion of no confidence motion against my government. Gone, done and dusted. She will definitely appoint the person who has the majority there. So it is the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So who appoints the PM? It is the president. Now PM. Now it is the president who will appoint him. Now they will have to appoint other ministers. They will have to appoint. They are going to form the government. For that they will need the ministers. It is the PM who will advise. It is the PM who will advise the president that Falani, that particular person should come under the Council of Ministers. So the Council of Ministers will be chosen from this, particular people in the Lok Sabha. This Council of Ministers, suppose it would be the Council of Ministers. In it, various people would be there, and what would be the how much would be the accommodation for the Council of Ministers? It is not more than 15% of the representation in the Lok Sabha. Not more than 15% it should be there. not more than 15% of the MPs. The Council of Ministers should not be more than the 15% of the MPs. So they will appoint, then they will appoint the Council of Ministers. They would be appointed by the President. It is on the pleasure of the President. The Prime Minister, he works on the pleasure of the President. The Council of Ministers, they work on the pleasure of the President, and eventually it is the pleasure of the Prime Minister. They will be appointed on the name of the President, but on the advice of the Prime Minister. So this is what the Council of Ministers and the President does look like. Now let's try to make it more systematic, and let's try to begin our understanding with respect to that. And let's try to understand what does the Constitution say, how does the Constitution define this thing. Let's try to understand that. In Constitution, we have Article 74, which we had discussed many times now. Article 74, what does it say? There shall be the Council of Ministers. There shall be the Council of Ministers. And there shall be the Council of Ministers with PM at the head. With PM at the head to aid and advise the President. So there shall be, Article 74 says there shall be the Council of Ministers. That means that this also cannot remain vacant. If this is vacant, if there is government, then it would be the presidential rule. So there shall be the Council of Ministers every time. It is very much necessary to have the Council of Ministers and PM. There are again, I will try to say that 543 MPs are there, and in these 543 MPs, the Council of Ministers would be chosen by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister. Who is going to appoint the Prime Minister? It is the President, and this is by the advice of the Prime Minister they would be chosen. So the first job of the President is to appoint the Prime Minister, and we also discussed that how it is the discretion of the President, and it is the situational discretion. It is not always there. If the political party is in the majority, then how can they go against the political party? It won't stand. The government won't work then. They have to go for it. It is the inferred thing in that. Now, if there is no particular majority, then it is the situational discretion of the President. But with respect to India, about the Prime Minister, about PM in India and PM in UK, there is a slight difference that in PM in India, he can be from either of the house. He can be from the Rajya Sabha as well as Lok Sabha. But in India, he can be only from, in UK, he can only be from the House of Commons, so lower house, the House of Commons, not the House of Lords. So in UK, the Prime Minister should be from the House of Commons. In India, the Prime Minister can be from House of Rajya Sabha as well as Lok Sabha, and he cannot even be from the house, from either of the house. He can be the outsider. He can be outsider. But once he takes the office of President, he becomes the Prime Minister. Then within 6 months, he should get elected. He should become the member of either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. It is up to him. That means he should get elected either he should contest a by election in the Lok Sabha, in any constituency of the Lok Sabha, or he should get elected as the member of the Rajya Sabha. So this is how it works in India. But in UK, he must be from the House of Commons. Now the question here is that, as Article 74 says, what does Article 74 says? That there shall be the President, Prime Minister and Council of Ministers who shall aid and advise, President. Now the question is, if suppose there is aid and advice from the Council of Ministers to the President, can this aid and advice, what they advise it to the President, can it be questioned in the court? Can it be questioned in the court? No, the answer to it is no. And where it is mentioned, it is Article 74 Clause 2, which mentions that you cannot question this, what they advise it to the president. Then we have Article 75. What does Article 75 say? Let's have a look at it. Article 575 says PM shall be appointed by President and other ministers by President on advice of the Council of Ministers. That we discuss it. Now let's name the article here so that it would be more understandable for you. Article 75 says, Article 75, it says PM, and he should be appointed by the President, and then they should appoint the Council of Ministers, but they should be appointed by the President on the aid and advice of the Prime Minister. Now there is a question. Suppose they had, they won the election, a political party won the election. They had the, they won the election. They won the election. They are forming the Council of Ministers. But how they won the election? Suppose in the present election there is a coalition of the governments. Now what was the condition? If you are winning the election, now you have to satisfy the MLA, MPs. Now you have to satisfy them. How you can satisfy them? Give them ministries. And giving the ministries without any restriction, it was certainly increasing the burden on the government and eventually impacting the finances of the country. So what happened in 2002? 91st Constitutional Amendment Act came in. 91st Constitutional Amendment Act, and what was established in this act, that an important thing was established. What is that? The total strength of the Council of Ministers shall not exceed 15%, including PM. The total strength of Council of Ministers shall not exceed, including PM. Here also UPSC may play a game with you, because students are so desperate in the exam hall. They are so nervous. They want to they are in hurry to answer the questions. So they know, examiner knows that thing, because he was sometimes in the exam. They know that thing, so they can little change. They will put the full statement. It would be very much familiar to you, but in the statement there would be a little change, like it would be excluding PM would be there in this statement, so it would be incorrect. The 15% of the total strength shall contain the Council of Ministers. This came through the 91st Constitutional Amendment Act. Now their oath and secrecy of Lok Sabha, let's discuss that. It is the third schedule of the Indian Constitution which deals with the oath and secrecy of the Lok Sabha. Oath of the MPs or the Council of Ministers, it is under the third schedule. Oath of the PM and the Council of Ministers, it is given in the third schedule of the Indian Constitution. Third schedule, it is given, and this is where they will be, and this oath will be conducted by whom? This oath would be conducted by the President. It would be conducted by the President. So with respect to the Council of Ministers in the states, it would be conducted by the Governor. With respect to the Council of Ministers in UT, it should be conducted by the President, but he appoints a person on his behalf there, that is Lieutenant Governor. So the third schedule, it deals with the oath of the ministers or MLAs or MPs with respect to the Council of, with respect to the government, with respect to the Council of Ministers. Third schedule contains the oaths. Now the another topic is about the salary and allowances. The salary and allowances to the MPs and the Council of Ministers, it shall be decided by the Parliament. So the Parliament decides what is the salary and allowances. So here can be a question with respect to The main is that is it good that parliament is deciding the salary for themselves, or it should be the some other authority which should decide the salary for themselves. So here is a discussion over it. Usually every year the salary is managed. Members of the parliament decide their own salary, whatever that would be, that is least important to your preparation. But here salary is managed, it is managed by the parliament themselves. Now the question can be, should there be the independent, should there be the independent authority who will independent authority who will manage, who will decide the salary of the MPs or the ministers? The answer to it is big yes. Yes, there should be the authority. But what are the conditions which would be looked after? So let's suppose what could be the conditions. It would be the attendance. There are many parliamentary members who get elected, but they never visit the parliament. So it is the attendance. B, the discussions they took part in. C, the questions they asked. D, the private members bill, number of private members bill you had introduced. So these would be the things which should be looked into. Like for example, in UK and South Africa, there is an independent pay commission which decides the salaries of MPs and ministers. Similarly, there should be in India also this independent pay commission. But it is right now it is managed by the parliament itself. And we saw that in Delhi Aam Aadmi Party, their government was there, they increased the salary by the 400%. It was more than the salary of the president and vice president. Now the question was asked to them why they did so. Legally they can do it, but why did they did so? The reasons which they highlighted, that first, to avoid corruption. If they have the money, then they will not do the they will not do the corruption. Second, talent can't be, if the salary is very low, then the talent can't be attracted. Usually talent gets attracted towards the money. If there is a lot of money, then definitely the talented people will move towards it and they will try to be part of it. So these were the reasons highlighted by the Aam Aadmi Party. But is this really so? Does it have something to do with the moral compass of the person? For example, if I am earning in the crores, does it mean that I will never do the corruption, or there is something to do with my moral compass? If I am the corrupt person, I will still try to earn more. If I am greedy, I will still try to go for the corruption. So this argument in itself has the drawbacks. And the second thing, it will attract the talent. There is something called self actualization. That people realize, they have the money, they have everything, they want to do something good for the people, and for that they want to do it totally free. So they will eventually come in and they will try to achieve it. So there was no need for increasing the salary. And in fact, when the constitution came in, when there was the first government, for 6 months our MPs, they did not withdraw any salary, because it was very much their moral compass was so high that they told that if the country is poor right now, if there are many people who are not even earning anything, who are sleeping hungry, how we can get benefits of this? So this representation in itself, they try to serve the people. They are not doing this for the salary purposes, but there is necessity that they should be paid. But what should be the solution? There should be the independent pay commission, which should decide their salaries. This could be the solution. And also Mr. Varun Gandhi has highlighted that there should be the token salary. That is something different. There should be the token salary. But Varun Gandhi, his bank balance is something different. He can say anything. But in reality, what is the situation here? The reality is salary is needed because there are people who work, who has to feed their family. But it should not be controlled by them only. It should be controlled by some separate independent pay commission. This is the discussion with it. Now another concept related to the Council of Ministers is the collective responsibility and the individual responsibility. Let's discuss this collective responsibility and the individual responsibility. What is that? collective responsibility versus individual responsibility. Individually, these council of ministers or the prime minister, they are responsible to president because it is on the pleasure of the president. Collective responsibility, it is something different. For example, when we discussed the uniform civil code, did I discuss it about the Muslim bill, woman bill, which was passed during the Muslim woman bill, which was passed, which talked about the alimony of a woman for 3 months, which was earlier restricted by the High Court, that it should be similar to every woman with respect to other women, that the person, if there is a divorce in a Muslim community, then by Islamic laws that person has to give the alimony or maintenance only for 3 months. But in other religions, the alimony, the maintenance, they have to give it for the lifetime. It was changed. It was Shah Banu case. It was highlighted by the court, Allahabad court, that it is unvalid. But they approached the Rajiv Gandhi, and he came up with this bill, Muslim Women Bill. So when this Muslim Women Bill was discussed in the cabinet, there was a person, namely Muhammad Khan. Arif Muhammad Khan, he was against it. He said that this should, right now government should not bring in. It is the right time that there should be a uniform civil code. He was against it. Now, still this bill passed. It was introduced. Now, what was the option with the Arif Muhammad Khan? To support it. You have to support it. Maybe you have the disagreement with the bill during the discussion, but when it is introduced, then you have to support it. You have to defend it. Or if you cannot defend it, then you have to resign. So what he did, he resigned. This is the collective responsibility. Before bill is passed, you can have the disagreement, but once the bill is passed, once the bill is in the discussion, then you have to be responsible to it. Your collective responsibility is to Lok Sabha. It is not the PM only who is responsible to the Lok Sabha. It is full cabinet who is responsible. It is full council of ministers who is responsible to the Lok Sabha, and you have to defend it. So this is the collective responsibility. Now, there are set of ministers which we have to understand. This concept, individual responsibility and collective responsibility, is also clear. Now let's move to the set of ministries which are in here. Then we will discuss what are different committees, and then we will conclude our today's discussion. What are the different set of ministries? For example, at the top we have the PM. After PM we have the cabinet minister. Cabinet minister. After that we have the after cabinet minister we have the minister of state, which works under the minister of state, who works under the cabinet minister. And then we have the minister of state. Then we have another minister, who is minister of state with independent charge. Minister of state with independent charge. We have the cabinet minister. For example, we have the Ministry of Home Affairs. Let's try to understand that what it is. By this diagram it is very much clear, but let's try to explain it further. For example, we have Ministry of Home Affairs. It is Ministry of Home Affairs comes under the Amit Shah. He is the cabinet minister. But under the Ministry of Home Affairs, there are various departments. For example, internal security is there, official languages is there, and various other departments. He cannot, control everything by his own. He would have a separate ministers for them. For example, for the official languages, for this Ministry of States, for internal security, for budget management, for Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh affairs, he will have a separate ministers for them. And those separate ministers will be responsible. They will report to whom? They will report to the cabinet minister. So these separate ministers would be the Ministry of State. They would be the Ministry of State. So Ministry of State, they report to the cabinet minister. Then who are the Ministry of State with independent charge? They are those ministers who don't want to report to cabinet minister. They report to the PM directly. For example, PM also holds some charges of some ministries under his charge. For example, Department of Personnel and Training, Department of Space, Department of Atomic Energy. There are various ministries under him, under the PM, who PM takes charge of these ministries, and he cannot himself do it. He will have certain other ministries for them, and they will directly report to whom? They will directly report to the PM, and they are called Ministry of State with independent charge. And the another example is, maybe there is some other ministry in the Home Affairs, and PM appointed, he approached PM that he wants to have this ministry. PM will give this ministry, but he don't want to approach the cabinet minister. He wants to approach the PM. The PM can do that too. So this is the difference between the ministry, the cabinet ministry, the Ministry of State, Ministry of State, and Ministry of State with independent charges. And also about the cabinet minister. Who are the cabinet ministers? They are the top of the top. This cabinet minister, it is the, you would have often heard this statement, it is the cabinet who is meeting regularly, the cabinet has met. These are the top ministries. And this cabinet, initially it was not part of the constitution, but it was introduced by the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act, when there was emergency was introduced before that. And it was amended that the president shall act on the emergency if there is a written advice of the cabinet for emergency. If there is written advice of the cabinet from cabinet for emergency, then he should go for the emergency. So this was the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act, which actually highlighted the term cabinet. And also there used to be the deputy ministers too previously. Deputy ministers were used. There used to be deputy ministers too, who would answer the questions on the behalf of the minister, under which to whom they report. Their function was to answer in the parliament on behalf of the ministers. Now the another question can come to your mind, that does constitution talk about these ministries? The answer to it is big no. But where does it talk? It talks in the 1961 rules of the business. The rules of the business, it talks about the ministries. So this is about it. Now the another term which you would have heard about is the kitchen cabinet. In the cabinet also there are certain people who are more close to the prime minister, who will advise him, but it is the informal, it is the informal term. There is no such, neither it is mentioned in the rules of the business 1961, neither it is mentioned in the constitution. It is very much informal. In this, there would be the people who are close advisories of the prime minister. He might be the home minister, he might be the Ajit Doval, he might be anyone. These are the close person to the home minister, to the prime minister. This is the informal device. It is not something mentioned in the rules of 1961 or the constitution. Now with this, let's move to the last topic of the Council of Ministers, that is the various cabinet committees. We need to know about it because it may be relevant for your prelims preparation. Then we will conclude our discussion. What are the various cabinet committees? These cabinet committees, cabinet committees. Is it mentioned in the constitution? No, these are extra constitutional devices. These are mentioned in the rules of the business. In the rules of the business, there are two types of cabinet committees. For example, one is standing cabinet committee, and another is ad hoc cabinet committee. These ad hoc cabinet committees are formed when there is certain conditions going on. For example, in 1962 there was a cabinet committee on war that was constituted, and it was then when the situation handled, it was diluted. And then there are standing cabinet committees. It is also based on the pleasure of the prime minister. Earlier there used to be 12 cabinet committees during the tenure of Manmohan Singh, and then they were reduced to 6 cabinet committees. Then by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, then again they were raised to 8 cabinet committees. Now here, what is our for UPSC aspirants? What do you need to know about the cabinet committees? There are 2 to 3 things what you need to know. First, what is the name of the committee? Remember the name. Second, who is the chairperson. and third, what is the function. These three things you need to know about these cabinet committees. And let's try to find out what are the various cabinet committees and what are their roles and functions of these cabinet committees. First cabinet committee you need to know is the the cabinet committee on appointment committee of the first is cabinet committee of the appointments. Cabinet committee on appointments. So who is the chairperson of this? It is the prime minister. The another member is the home minister in the cabinet committee of the appointments or appointment committee of the cabinet. And what is the function of it? If anybody, they have to appoint above the rank of the joint secretary, above the rank of joint secretary, it would be decided by cabinet committee on appointments. So this is their function. Then the second cabinet committee, please remember who is the chairperson. It is the PM. Another member is the home minister, and their role is to appoint the person who is above the rank of the joint secretary. Second, the cabinet committee on accommodation. Under this they have to deal with the accommodation of the ministers and all that. Who is the chairperson for that? It is the home minister. Home minister is the chairperson for that. Then the third is cabinet committee on economic affairs. For the cabinet committee of economic affairs, they have to deal with the economic, for example, inflation, various schemes they have to bring in. How do we tackle it? All that they have to decide over it. And this economic affairs committee, it is headed by PM. So in these two, cabinet committee on appointments headed by PM, cabinet committee on accommodation headed by home minister, cabinet committee on economic affairs headed by whom? Headed by PM again. Then the fourth cabinet committee is on cabinet committee on political affairs in parliamentary affairs. Cabinet committee on parliamentary affairs. It is headed by defense minister. Parliamentary affairs is headed by defense minister Rajnath Singh, and the function is he summons the parliament. He summon by the, and he would advise the president to summon the parliament, prorogue the parliament. Government bill, decided by them. What would be the government bill? It would be decided by them. It would deal with the parliamentary affairs. It is headed by the defense minister. Then there is another cabinet committee related to the political affairs. Political affairs cabinet committee. It is headed by the PM, and this political cabinet committee is also called the super cabinet. It is also called the super cabinet. So this is the fourth cabinet committee. Then the fifth cabinet committee would be cabinet committee. It is the fifth cabinet committee on the political affairs. Then the sixth would be on the security. Cabinet committee on the security. It would be headed by PM. And what are the other members? It is the Minister of Defense, External Affairs Minister, Home and Finance Minister. These would be the part of it. Then there are two more cabinet committees. One is the Cabinet Committee on Investment and Growth. It is headed by PM, and the another is Cabinet Committee on Employment and Skill Development. It is also headed by the PM. So these are the cabinet committees. Please do make the note of them. Write down what is their function, who is the chairperson, and if possible, who are the members. Members are not that important, but at least write down the names of these 8 cabinet committees. Write down who is the chairperson of these cabinet committees, and also write down what is their function. With this, it would be enough for you to crack any question with respect to these important concepts. So with this, we complete today's discussion. I hope you had understood the office of the president. We did not discuss the powers of the president in detail, because I told you it is the continuous topic. It would remain in continuity till we will complete the whole Indian polity. We discussed the vice president also, and we discussed the PM and the council of ministers. Tomorrow we will discuss the attorney general and other remaining topics. So with this, we will conclude today's discussion. Before that, we will solve a question, prelims model question, then we will conclude it. Here the question says, which of the following statements regarding the impeachment of the president of India are correct? First statement, the impeachment motion can be initiated in either house of the parliament. Correct. The notice for the impeachment motion must be signed by at least 1/4 of the total members of the house. This is the catch here. It is not total members, it is the members present at voting. But when it is passed, it should be passed by 2/3 of the total members. So this is the difference. Here it is incorrect. The resolution for impeachment must be passed by a majority of not less than 2/3 of the total members of the house. Correct. The president has the right to appear and to be represented at such investigation. Correct. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1, statement 3 and statement 4. Let us suppose it is option D. This is the correct option. With this, we complete today's discussion. I hope you would have liked the video. I hope you would have share it with your friends, and I definitely hope you would subscribe the channel. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you very much and have a nice day. And best of luck for your preparation. Do stay with us, do watch the videos and do revise.